I doing? So min sleep time. Any bad raw food? Bad sushi source, yeah. Yeah, I think that was one of the funny things is like people in the game industry like to shit all over free to play games and be like, ah, they're so awful, they're so bad, you know, they're destructive for the industry. There was one Beer Friday where we're talking about that as usual. Where you gotta bitch about something. It's just part of reality. But it's funny because people are like talking about free to play stuff, and then I like turned to like the producer guy. I was like, all right, so how much money have you spent on Clash of Clans? You know, because he's just tearing into this stuff, right? And you know, he just kind of looks away. He's like, dude, I'm I'm not gonna tell you. You know? Like, no, all right, I'm gonna stop talking about this. He's like, I'm done. He's like, yeah. Because that's one of the problems. Like, you'll have people who just crap all over free to play games, but then, like, you turn around and you're like, how much money have you spent on this? And it's like, I've literally spent $1,000 on this game. Like, what is wrong with you? It's like, it's cheaper than being an alcoholic. It's like, dude. uh, though I haven't. I think the only free to play game I've ever actually shelled out any money on is I think like Mass Effect 3's loot boxes for their multiplayer. I think I shelled out about $50 at one point to unlock the characters I wanted, but that's it. Like I've been thankfully immune to a lot of that. All right, so Stat Master is going to be. Well, this is going to be the interval check time. So we're going to check for a new interval. Let's check every minute. And private static final. No, private boolean. No, private long. Last interval check 0. So we'll check once a minute to see if we have to roll anything over. $100 to League of Legends. It's not too bad. Clicker Hero will be premium instead of FP. Yeah. Alright, so if we are not the master, return out of here. Otherwise, we'll do our check interval call. He spent money in Smite, he bought everything, bought all the heroes, bought the full pack. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, is that the prices of video games haven't really gone up that much. You know, they kind of got to 60 bucks or so, and they haven't really gone any higher than that. But the costs of making the games has gone through the roof with needing to hire more artists and more stuff, and especially with larger games. So it's like, how do you make all that money back? And a lot of stuff is just, well, DLC and then microtransactions and all this other stuff to try to recoup funds. And while people will say AAA games are $80 now, yeah, that's right. I mean, people are voting with their wallets, pretty much. Alright, so we need to check our intervals. So we need to grab the stat database. It depends. I think a lot of, especially in other countries other than the US, the game prices have gone insane. Like, I know Australian game prices are just, like, absolutely stupid. Compared to, like, the US's, I think. What? 70 bucks to play it on sale? I mean, if you're buying all the DLC, yeah, I can see that. But you don't buy AAA anymore. Alright, so what is this? Fetch stat intervals, group by interval context, order by start time, ascending. Maybe I should go by each interval type. So that's probably a better way to do it than this. I'll throw as much money as I want for an extension. Yeah. Yeah, but that's another thing, is that people wait around for those Steam sales for the game to be 50% off. Because I know I do that. I'll look at something like, oh, well, the latest Total War game came out, but it's like 70 bucks, or, you know, it's 60 bucks right now. I think I'll wait, and then it'll drop down to like 40, and then I'll buy it. Diablo 3 dead? No, not at all. I think Diablo 3 is probably coming back. Like, they added a whole bunch of crap, if I remember. And I definitely had people this past year being like, you need to get back into Diablo 3. And I'm just like, Because I played the hell out of it at launch, but not really any after that. So let me check the intervals that I've got set up. So I've got intervals, stat intervals are like these guys. So what I can do is I can actually set up configs for this. And how do I want to do it, though? So I'm thinking it should be like we fetch for every stat interval type. Yeah, it should be something different than this. It should be like for string interval in WD intervals stat interval dot names. It'll be if check interval equals false, return false. Otherwise, return true. Their launch, there was story mode. Latest expansion added the Necromancer. Oh, the launch was like legendarily bad. My God. I remember getting to the most difficult mode right after launch, playing as a barbarian, and getting to Act 2, and I quit after like a while of Act 2, just because everything was like Act 1 as a barbarian at launch with, you know, like on Inferno mode or whatever the hell was the most difficult, was actually really fun because all the monsters in Act 1 like telemark all their attacks, and like there are some really tough dudes, but it was actually really fun because the game totally changed to just be like, well, I can't get hit by that guy, but he winds up his attack, and instead of just like clicking all the monsters to death, it became very tactical, where you're just like, you know, running back and forth perfectly, you know, within the like a 2x2 foot radius to like, you know, avoid attacks and while getting in like all the stuff. That was great. But then you got to Act 2 and like all the monsters have cheap bullshit attacks and you just die, and you're like, well, I guess I can't beat Act 2 because I'm not a fucking sorcerer. Nobody plays the story mode anymore. You do it once. Yeah, the story mode also like got so goddamn old. Like there's only so many times you're like, Jesus Christ, okay, Cain dies. Die already, you old bastard. Oh, you're a Nephilim. Just shut up and open the gate, you old bastard. Shit, I don't care. Okay, for every one of these intervals, we're going to need configs for them. So I think it's going to be... We need to go to services, config. I need to check all this stuff out. Alright, so it's going to be services, and then we've got stats, right? There's stats. We want stats, intervals, and then let's do all time. Seasonal. And I don't really want to show all the config stuff on stream because some of it's a little bit more like, none of it's like, I don't throw any passwords in there, but you know, it's just there's stuff in there I'd rather not show absolutely everybody. You have a level 300 hero in hardcore mode. I'll be sad when he dies. Damn. I remember there was this one video of somebody who was like the first barbarian guy to actually get through all of Inferno mode right after launch, or he was like in the middle of Act 2 with his barbarian. Either way, it was like the highest level. He had all the best shit or whatever, and had been streaming, and he went AFK for like a minute or two. And when he thought he was safe out in like the desert area, and one of those like mosquitoes came over when he was on stream, and he was just like in the bathroom and just killed him. And everybody in like Twitch chat was like, "No! Oh my God! No! Get back! Get back!" And he got back, and his character was dead, and he was just like, "Well, shit." Alright, so monthly should roll over, weekly should roll over, daily should roll over, and so what I should do here is roll over type, I believe, and let's just set it like that. So what I'm going to need to do is add a enum here for rollover type. So we have monthly, weekly, daily. And I guess never would be a good one? Never. Okay, how about we do it that way? There's no highest anymore, it's unlimited. Yeah, that's what I remember people saying. I don't know, I might get back into it, but I've got a lot of... There's just always new stuff to do. There's too many games to play, right? There's also too much damn work to do. Okay, so basically what we want is we want to fetch the interval type string. So what is the config path for that? It is... I have this whole config system. So services stats dot intervals. I guess I'll need an enabled here. And then we want to add the interval name here. Dot rollover type. Alright, so if this is null, I'm just going to print out a warning. And we'll just return true. So that's not a failure, but it's not configured properly. Super ultra mega rare item. They had ancient. You could drop one every hour or something. And primal ancient. It's only dropped one since the game was released. Jesus. Yeah, that was my issue with when we were running through, like, at launch with Diablo 3 and they had the real money auction house. It just sucked because no items dropped. Like, no unique items dropped because it was all supposed to be balanced out by the auction house. So, like, you would never fucking find anything good. Or you'd find, like, one or two things good, and then you'd basically be like, well, I gotta go sell it on the auction house. Or, you know, you'd be like, well, I'm going to hang on to this for my whatever character. But it wasn't like Diablo 2 where you got quite a bit of unique items with, like, an actual run-through. And that was a real pain in the ass. And yeah, them getting... I read about that when they did it, that they got rid of the real money auction house. And it's just like, man, that's pretty crazy. Alright, so seasonal, monthly, daily, weekly. So we need to do WD stat rollover type dot get ID for string. Alright, so it's going to be a warning here. Alright, so never will just return true, because we don't do anything with that. Otherwise, we've got these weekly, monthly, daily sort of thing. So maybe I should just have this do return, daily, rollover, interval. Just do it like that with... that sort of stuff. Chinese farming ruined the marketplace. They ruin everything. Alright, so let's do this. So again, we're going to load it up, check the stuff, and then, yeah, so what we will do is, so for our stats DB, what have we got for our table structure for intervals? So we have interval context, interval name. So the interval context is going to be this online or offline. Interval name is going to be something else. Okay, so we need even more here. We're going to need to go through for string context in WD stat contexts. So interval ID, interval context, interval name. So what we're going to need to do is we want to get the most current thing for this. So it's going to be the stats, stat interval, var names. So we'll need to sort by the start time. We're going to need the interval context, and we're going to need the interval name. So we need to have these match. Alright, so it'll be select from where interval context matches, interval name matches, order by the start time, and fetch me only one of them. So it'll be statsdb.get from user intervals, where, I guess it's prepared. Yeah. So get our statement, slap our preparable in there. So, pretty much what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to do this for everything. So we're just going to do interval equals load latest interval, and we'll pass in the context in the interval. This is where I wish we had multiple return values for Javas, but we don't. So what I'm going to have to do here is return a WD results. So I'll just get that going there. So avoid us copy pasting some of this stuff. So this is going to be the context, and this is going to be the interval. And we're definitely going to need a never rollover method here. And the never rollover is probably the first thing we should implement, which is don't roll anything over, just make it if it doesn't exist. Alright, Carry Unix, have a good night. Try to get some better sleep in. Okay, so this thing doesn't exist, so we're going to say object equals new interval ID is going to be a new interval, so the context is going to be context. So the start time is going to be, I guess we can just put 0 and then 0 on this guy. Because if these are all time, I guess we'll have the start time set, but the end time we'll have set to nothing. So why don't we just do insert, return, insert, interval, and we'll just pass this guy in. Alright, so we'll do that. Cool, so for monthly rollover, okay, so if this object does not equal null, then what we want to do is we want to check the current month with that month. So let me see where I've got some of those instances of calendar set up here. Alright, so basically we'll get, what time zone should we actually snag here? For specified time zone code, either an abbreviation such as PST, a full name, America, Los Angeles, or a custom one, GMT -8. Well, this would be a question of which time zone should we have roll everything over. As I live on the West Coast, I'm just going to put PST in here, and Adam can just do whatever the hell he wants. Alright, so this is going to be the end time for this guy. So time in millis is going to be the object dot end time. And we're also going to want, yeah, okay, so we'll get a new calendar, and we'll also set time in millis to right now. So we'll be able to, like, we'll just have now, and we'll have end. And alright, so basically what we want to know is if the end time of this is less than now. And we want to do that for, like, this is monthly rollover, so we'll do now month is going to be now.get calendar.month. Alright, so if now month, let's just make this real simple. Time stuff is annoying. Alright, so if now month is greater than end month. Well, there you go. That would be that's a bug right there, right? Because we go from 12 to 0, so it's going to be a, if now month does not equal end month, then rollover. I guess I should say if they are equal, then just return true. No rollover required. Otherwise, we want to drop through and create a new thing. So we want to have a new end time. So what we should probably do is this will be at the end of this month. So we're going to make a new one here, but we need to do it anyway. So what we need to do is if this does not equal null and all this sort of stuff. Try not to just copy paste all this crap. But kind of looks like I need to. Okay, so if it's a new one, then what we want to do is we want to set a new interval, which is going to be from now until like the current month until the end of that month. So it should be we should just like make a new calendar. So the calendar will just set time in milliseconds to now, get the month. I guess we need now month here. And we're also going to need Is there like a maximum months thing in Java here? Okay, so it's like cal.get actual maximum returns the maximum value for the specified calendar field you could have given the time value of this calendar. For example, the actual maximum value for a month is 12 in some years and 13 in other years in the Hebrew calendar system. Fuck. This is why I hate time. Time is stupid. Time is real dumb. So is there a cal.get actual minimum? Alright, returns the minimum value for the specified calendar field given the time value of this calendar. The default implementation uses an iterative algorithm to determine the actual minimum value for the calendar field. Subclasses should, if possible, override this more efficient implementation. In many cases, they simply can return get minimum. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get the start and end time of this. So the start time of this is going to be like, okay, so we have our now month and we have next month. So now doesn't equal the end, so we're in the next month, so like it's, so, okay. So I want to get the start time. Yeah, okay, so we need a new stat object. Context equals context. How dare time exist? Yeah. That's one of the just the funniest things about time zones and programming is it's actually awful. Because you do things like, all right, cool. I've made the perfect time, calendar class. It's amazing. It's the best thing ever. It's now out of date because Florida just passed a law. Son of a bitch. Or somebody decided that we're switching to a different calendar. The year is actually the year is now actually 655, or the next Japanese emperor comes into power, and you're like, all right, well, now time's based on this guy's life. We're now in the Showa dynasty. Ah, shit. Guess I'll have to go download the next Java update with an updated calendar. Okay, so the start time is basically we need to do cal.set. What did this guy do? That's what I liked. So what we want to do is set. Ah, son of a bitch. We're gonna need more than this. All right, so we need the year, month, day, everything. So what we want to do is we're going to set our calendar day to, we need to set our calendar, set hour of day to 0, right? Set time to start of day. So yeah, hour of day needs to be set to 0. We also need to set the minute, the second, and the millisecond to 0. So that will start us on the beginning of the day. So we want to say day of month also needs to be set to 0. Okay, so that's going to be our start time. So cal.get time in millis. So so our object.start time is going to be this. Okay, so it's so messed up. Okay, so we'll set ourselves to the very beginning millisecond of the month. That will be our start time. We then need to cal.set our... We're going to go to the next month. So we want our int next year. Let's see, this just be year adjust equals 0. So for this guy, we do year adjust equals 1. Okay, so we'll set the month to the next month. We will also set the year to we're going to set it to year plus year adjust. Okay, so we will then say object.endTime is going to be cal.get time in millis minus 1 second. And then we're going to insert that. That is so stupid. So we'll set ourselves to the very beginning of this thing and do that. All right, that makes sense. It works. All right. So if we ever change time zones for this thing, we're absolutely fucked. Awesome. Well, we're not absolutely screwed, but whatever. So this will be now week. Now month does not equal end week. So week of year. So we need to be using. All right, so ooh, there's so many little things that you could screw up on this. Week of month, fuck no. It's week of year. Okay. So get actual maximum, week of year, day of week, all these sorts of things. Set the week of year to next month. This will be next week. Okay, so that'll roll over our stuff. Okay, so this is going to be day of year. All right, so this will be now day. So next day. Just watch me have some little error here, and basically 2018 turns into 2019, and all the stats go straight to hell. And it's like, yeah, Happy New Year! Shit. So week of year, it's going to be day of year. Now day. Alright, well, supposedly this is our rollover for all of our times implemented. So I will be right back.